So welcome guys. Quick short live stream today due to the price action that we've gotten over the last few hours. Honestly, it's not like we have seen any sort of invalidation, but I thought I would just make a live update for you guys. Because there is a little bit of volatility and things can still shift throughout the day. But my first focus for now is going to be Bitcoin. Bitcoin, the best way to kind of represent what's going on is by actually inverting the scale. And if you invert the scale, it's a very similar situation as to what happened on altcoins before the last surge, right? And a good example of that is actually Zcash, where you can see that if you ignore this, because I believe it's a glitch, this flash crash to $10, if you kind of ignore it, and I think that we can safely assume that this was the all-time low at some point. You can see that after making a new all-time low, we actually had a significant surge to the upside. Now, of course, this is the inverted chart for Bitcoin, but look at what has happened afterwards. We saw a retracement back down, and the reason why I say that is because, as much as I would love for us to go straight into the 70s, ideally at the very least, which honestly it can still happen. I'm not ruling it out. I'm also considering other possibilities of potential retracements back up, just to kind of reset the sentiment. We will see about that. But you can see that we clearly have a market structure shift. We have taken out that significant low that we have covered. And from a range perspective, we're actually playing out exactly as we said that we would. Because if invert it back up, right? Flush back down, up, correction back down lower. So we can say that this has now been validated. Now, of course, this opens up the question, which obviously I cannot rule out, right, of a potential push to the upside to kind of wipe this all-time high. Now, does this have to happen right away? Absolutely not. And even if it does, that will not invalidate none of our thesis. It's just something that we cover that is still a possibility, and therefore we need to cover it. You also need to pay attention to, at this moment, to this trend over here, because on the daily, we got the retest, but I think that if we go on the weekly, it's actually not the case. And in this case, in this situation, I would say that the weekly actually represents a little bit better of what we are currently looking at, especially if I optimize this trend line. You can see that we do have the framework afterwards to go back up. Does this have to happen right away? As I said right now, no, it doesn't. But we need to keep an open mind, because ideally what I want to see, hopefully can happen today. If we are going to see any sort of a bounce, technically should be coming from around these prices, which is where we got this trend line. I'll actually make this a little bit thicker so you guys can see where it's coming from if you want to add it on your chart. From this week to this week on January 13th, that will ideally flush very likely 86K. At that point, there is a very good chance that we can go a little bit lower and actually go to the equilibrium point, which is going to be taking us to that 85K level that we already were focusing on. And anything lower than that at this point is going to be a bonus. The best case scenario, in my opinion, is if we go and strike this trend line as well, because striking this trend line provides the framework as how we could potentially see a pullback up before continuing down once again. I think that would be pretty decent in terms of a move to the downside, because it will also invalidate this low that is currently holding up price. This is the last level of consolidation that we currently have on the chart. What I wanted to do actually is go on a cleaner chart for a second, just so things don't get too confusing for you guys. What I'm going to do is actually add another chart layout over here. Is this the Kraken chart? Yes, it is. And I'll keep things extremely simple for you guys. So here what we've gotten is pretty much a buy side liquidity that has been taken. The last level of actual support is down towards 85K for this current region, because as we covered many times, I don't have the indicator for it, but it doesn't really matter. the last level of consolidation afterwards, it's gonna be at around 73, 74k. Yeah, 73. You know, this was a straight up movement to the upside, and you know that if we actually end up going down, and we actually see candle closures below this low, it's very, very likely that we're gonna snap back down towards 73 at the very least in one go. It's pretty much a given at this point. However, we need to take things one step at a time. And the reason being is because we have multiple Fibonacci's that we still need to be paying attention to. The first one that we are currently active on, I would say, because it hasn't completely fulfilled, is this one. From this side to this low, yes, we got the wipeout, but it doesn't really matter because the candle closure happened inside of the Fibonacci, so we know that it's valid. You can see that we have the minus 25% straight below from this low. That would signify, in my opinion, that this is a market structure shift. Afterwards, what we will be expecting is a dry back to the upside. But before I cover any potential upside that we may get, what I will want to do in this sort of situation is to kind of highlight where we are looking for, just in case we see a quick sudden snap to the downside, okay? Because at this moment, we cannot necessarily rule out. For example, I woke up this morning and Bitcoin was trading significantly lower than we technically anticipated last night. Not that I'm surprised to see it, but you know, it was quite fast and things will start to ramp up very, very soon here. So I kind of need to give you guys the game plan. That's why we have the limit orders, and hopefully all of you guys have actually set up these limit orders, because the time is getting very, very close, to say the least, for those who actually strike. So I'm actually going to change the color of this. I'm going to make this a red, because we're going to be adding a bunch of conferences to this. I'll remove this. Create another rectangle, just to kind of show you guys the confluence that we have to the downside and the levels that we are going to be looking for. So this is one Fibonacci. Then the next Fibonacci that is currently in play here is going to be this one. Now, why is this important? Because this is a smaller Fibonacci from the all-time high to the first move to the downside, and you can see that we are actually getting quite close to the fullest to the full extension of it. Okay, the full extension is 86,265. So it's definitely worth to pay attention at this particular level over here. This is the Kraken chart, by the way. You can see that we are getting really, really close to it. And we can form, right, a short-term bottom anywhere from this particular level that we are literally about to hit. And hopefully we do that now. To potentially even 83k. Okay, it's gonna be one of these two that potentially provides the bounce. If these two levels fail, right, this is gonna be quite a big confirmation that we're going to go down. But anywhere from this level to this level over here, if we see a sudden sell-off, we know exactly where to look, and that is below 80k. So this is what I'm be focusing on in the very, very short term. Next Fibonacci that is currently in play is this one over here. However, this one we haven't seen. Well, actually, we did. Sorry, we did. We did see the return to the golden pocket, which is good. By the way, no, okay, we haven't hit it just yet. We haven't hit it. Significant levels that this Fibonacci provides is this one. You can see that Bitcoin started to snap down and actually taking a little bit of speed. Not just yet, but soon it should provide some speed to the downside, of course. This will be the level that I will be paying attention to thanks to this Fibonacci. And it's between the minus 50 to the minus 61.8%. This actually lines up with that 83k level that we just covered. Sorry guys, I literally just finished eating, so I'm still a little bit digesting the food. And yeah, this is the full extension area. So we got quite the roadmap to the downside in this sort of a situation. But the key level, again, is going to be this low over here. Once you take out this low, it's going to be a very quick sudden sell-off, in my opinion, the varies to this region over here. If we get a short-term bounce, for example, in between 79 to 77, What will that correlate to is actually this that I covered some time ago. I haven't covered this too many times. And what I'm referring to is actually the CME gap, which if you guys look at where it's actually starting from, 77K. What do we have at 77K? We have the confluences that we have gathered with the Fibonacci's right now. So this Fibonacci is in play, but it doesn't get fulfilled until this level over here. Now this opens up this sort of possibility that of course we need to adapt to as we proceed lower. So the hypothetical Fibonacci that is next in line at this moment, while we are wait for an actual bounce to come in, is going to be this. Why do we know that is a possibility? Is because, well, from this low to this low, we actually have a broken trend line. Okay. So for any sort of short-term bounces, we're going to be looking at this region. Now, this Fibonacci at this moment doesn't say much to us. And even though it is a possibility, that's why I also covered the possibility on the other chart, right? That we can see a wipe of the all-time high, even though I don't necessarily believe that that is what's going to happen right now, at least. We still need to cover it because any sort of upside, even up to 102K, will be justified with this correlation. So we are going to be looking at this. We're going to be looking together here. Okay. So the first Fibonacci in the short term that I will be paying attention to is the one from the latest swing. And the latest swing is this one. This is the last swing guy that we have seen before the breakdown lower. And you can see that from this hypothetical Fibonacci that we're currently going on, and it doesn't matter how much lower we go, you can see that we have the golden pocket pretty much lined up in this zone. We know that there is the possibility here for a potential drive to the upside to retest this trend line where people will start to form back in because Bitcoin is going to be reclaiming 90K before we actually continue our journey lower. This hypothetical Fibonacci at this moment has the full extension below 73K, which is pretty much the area where we last consolidated once we actually break down of this region. So we know that it's most likely going to come sooner rather than later. Other potential upside swings that we may see this trend over here coming into fruition. And actually, let me keep things very, very easy for you guys to kind of understand where we can go. And I'll actually move this projection because we don't need it at this moment in time. Is actually by inverting the chart, because by inverting the chart, it's kind of easier, at least for me, to look at the trend lines. And you can see that this trend over here is actually missing the third touch to the upside. Of course, and I inverted the chart, therefore it's downside theoretically. But if you look at where this is around, it's actually around pretty much where we broke down from. And if I remove the wicks, right? Let me do that for you guys. If I remove the wicks, which create quite a lot of confusion, you can see that the candle bodies have two particular levels that have acted as level of previous support and now potentially as resistance, and it's actually these two levels over here. And if I were to put the wicks once again, you can see how initially this is where we found let me invert the chart. This is where we initially found some support. This is where we initially found support. So if we are going to see a drive back up, this is further confluence, in my opinion, that anywhere inside of this region over here, it's a good time to go short, in my opinion. Okay, you can see that we have quite a lot of confluence for a potential drive back into this region. So I'm specifically mentioning prices like 95 to 92K. That's a decent area to kind of look for a potential resistance. Okay, and plus, I forgot what I was gonna say. I think there is another trend line, which is this one over here. Yeah, this is the initial trend that we were looking for anyway. Drag this a little bit up. You can see that we could potentially get here to around the 10th of March, approximately. So that is definitely something to be paying attention to at this moment. We got the candle closure for the month of February very soon. So ideally, we could potentially see a small reversal back up, some type of short-term bottom potentially coming in very, very soon. Because by doing so, we're going to be starting the month initially bullish. And if you guys have seen for yourselves how candles tend to develop, if the trend, for example, is bearish, there's a good chance that sometimes, if not most of the time, I should say, the candle starts off with being bullish, and that is to trap retail before the inversion and, well, price actually taking the correct trend that it was meant to take either way. So I'm looking for a potential drive back up, unless, of course, we snap back down, and a big confirmation that we're going to go lower straight from here is definitely going to be a candle closure below, what is that, 85.1 pretty much. Okay, if you get the candle closure below this level, next logical level is going to be 73. Otherwise, as long as we hold above this level, it is only reasonable to see the sentiment reset at this moment. Let me go back to the previous Bitcoin chart, the one that we were tracking initially. And yeah, you can see it's pretty much the same trend lines here as well for a potential drive back up into this region over here. So that is it for Bitcoin at this moment in time. I'll shift my attention to the total one. Total one now. Total one, the same thing that we said for Bitcoin is valid for the total one, except for the fact that total one in this situation is actually weaker than Bitcoin. What does that mean? That we have already shifted structure in this sort of a situation. This Fibonacci should actually be readapted. But because, right, we have taken things, well, we have new lows, we need to readapt in the same way that we have done so for Bitcoin before. Okay, W formation, we are looking for a retracement on the last unfulfilled Fibonacci, and it's actually this one over here. So we know that we are going to be looking for a drive inside of this region. We know that we have this trend over here that I'm actually going to be making not red, but I'm going to be making this a line so it kind of stands out. This trend over here is missing the third touch of it. From there onwards, we can expect the resistance to come in and potentially drive down further. In the very short term, what I would be looking for is ideally this trend coming in. I mean, we are getting so close to it. Let me actually double check if we have already hit it or not. And you can see that we are quite close to it. We haven't hit it just yet. A small flush out is needed. Let me actually go and look on that refined Bitcoin chart and see how we are comparing at this moment. You know, potentially we could get the wipe of this low, but a candle closure above it. That will still be fine, and it will actually fall in line with what the total one is already suggesting. That could be how things play out. A quick sudden wick fishing of this nature can happen today. Candle closure back inside of this region over here, pull back up, people start to believe that that was it, and then we actually proceed even further lower. Okay, that can easily be how things end up playing out. But yeah, I mean, I drive back up to this level of resistance, what I'm currently expecting at this moment. So I won't share too much on the total one, simply because there hasn't been any sort of changes. Total two. Now, total two, I think has, yeah, very big similarities to the total one. But before I actually cover total two, let me actually double check on something. Okay, you can see that on the total one, right, we have taken out this low, which is the previous liquidation event. What did I tell you? That wicks are going to be filled, right? And now you're seeing exactly that. However, on the total two, right, which is more specific for these altcoins, we can see that this hasn't happened just yet. What has actually happened is that we actually started to trade once again below this trend line over here. Now, that's a very big sign in itself, but it's not enough. The reason being is because we haven't seen the wipe of this low. And I don't think that this is going to come in right away. That is exactly at 1 trillion. So it's a very big psychological level. I think that the breakdown lower below 1 trillion will make more sense once things actually go into capitulation. And of course, what has happened today is not capitulation. It's fear, probably extreme fear at this moment, but it's not capitulation. Capitulation is a very, a very big candle back to pretty much these regions over here, I would say, which is where we have all these alignments. To the upside, we are looking at pretty much the same exact framework as what we have seen in the previous chart, which is actually this trend over here. Okay, and you can see that the market is currently waiting for a catch up. If we don't see this happening right now, can it happen later? Sure, but it just means that we are going to be facing a little bit more hurdles later on. Okay, in order to flip this into supports, as they will probably act as a resistance beforehand. I don't think that this show is going to be taken, but if it does, we already know where to look, and that is to this trend lines over here. What I think it's going to be happening here is the drive back up, essentially. So this is what I'm looking for: drive back up, and then take out this lows. Okay. That is it for the total 2. I'll go to the total 3. If you guys have any questions, please let me know and stop me. I just don't want to waste too much of your time. Welcome, Naki. We started live streaming 20 minutes ago, so you may have to watch the first 20 minutes of the recording. But total 3, it's pretty much the same exact situation as the total 2, where we haven't seen the flush out of the previous liquidation event low. Okay. So the framework in this sort of situation is pretty much the same. But what I want to move your attention towards in this chart is actually the fact, and even the previous chart as well, that the upside that we may get once we actually do form a short-term bottom is very much limited. And I will actually correlate this with the Bitcoin dominance later. But you know, the upside in this sort of situation is pretty much going to be taking us back at the levels at which we were already trading in literally last week. So I think that, you know, what I've seen, right, especially in the group chats that I'm in, people now have pretty much 2 theories as to what could potentially happen to the upside. And one of them is that, one, any sort of catch up that we get in the short term is a good opportunity to get the fuck out. The second theory that they have is, I forgot what it was. I actually forgot what it was. But yeah, I mean, oh yeah, it's people that have positions, right? And they are pretty much praying for their entries to go back to break even, for prices of their investments to go back to break even, because now people are, you know, a little bit fearful, and they will rather close a break even rather than continuing to see a loss. Right now, they're waiting on that possibility. I've been here before in that sort of a situation, and what I can tell you that has happened previously is that the market may retrace, but not enough for a lot of people to actually closing their positions at break even, considering the fact that, you know, most people actually started probably DCAing at least from these levels over here, right? From this consolidation onwards into the breakout, you can see that this Fibonacci may get close to it, but you might not necessarily get to that level. So I think that it's going to make these people believe that perhaps break even is going to come for them before the market actually ends up going lower. Then they're going to be panicking, and they will actually close at a loss, close to the bottom, and from there we can actually reverse. I've been here before, and that's how things usually tend to play out. The market never wants to give you what you want to give, what you want to get from the market, especially when you're begging for it. So I just thought I'd throw that in there, because when I see this chart, right, and I see these trend lines that are left to be hit, Sure, we do have this upper trend over here, but it doesn't mean that we have to necessarily catch up to it right now. If we do end up seeing a bigger squeeze to the upside for these altcoins, so that Bitcoin can actually follow, actually fall and go deeper, and I'm talking about 60 to 70 Ks, low 70s, that is, of course, then yes, these altcoins can still see somewhat of a catch up. And you can see that from this Fibonacci's perspective, that will still be fine, because getting up to this region instead of this one will still be giving us somewhat of a resistance. Okay, and from there onwards, the alignments to go lower will still be on track with our expectations, so it wouldn't change much. And total 2, you can see that the upside in this sort of a situation is still quite limited as well. Sure, this can go a little bit higher, potentially even take out this high. Wouldn't change anything. It will still be going to the downside. So this chart, total 2, total 3, I think even others at this point it's going to be the same. We go on the daily time frame. Yeah, others pretty much the same situation as total 2 and total 3. Wipe of this low hasn't happened just yet. We can't see a pullback up, but a pullback up, it's either gonna stop at this trend over here or at this trend here. Simple as. This actually starts to cross over at the beginning of March. So this is telling me that if we do end up forming a short-term bottom very soon, we could open the monthly candle of March, right? And get that thing going from there to the downside. And before I actually go to other charts, monthly time frame, let me actually do that for you guys here. I'll work on cleaner charts. I don't want to overlap stuff, but this is the crypto chart for Bitcoin. Okay, and here is what I'm looking at this moment. This trend over here has been fulfilled, so we know that we can see a potential bounce either in the next 3 days or at the beginning of March. The breakout level is this trend line over here, which is at 93.4. So this is a good level that I will be watching for a potential reversal to happen, and we can see potentially the month of February engulfing in this manner, closing in this manner as well, and the next candle potentially driving up into this region before falling off. Reason being is because by actually tapping into this trend line for a third time, right, we have created a new trend line, which is this one over here. Let me actually get this quite precise for you guys. I'll make this a line. There you go. And what this is telling me, right, when I look at a chart like this, is two things. First of all, from body to body, we do have some correlations within this region over here. But as I showed you guys in the previous chart, it's between 92 to 95K, so 93K, where it makes sense as it's a level that can potentially come into fruition. So, and we just got this level, right, by looking at this chart with no proper technical analysis. But anyway, next month, right, we can get the move to the upside into this region over here before we get another sell-off down to this region. Now, next month, if it unfolds in this manner, this points at 82K. But if it points at 82K, my best guess is that these altcoins will not see a catch-up because, if these altcoins, right, let's say that Bitcoin does go towards 92 or 95K, and these altcoins struggle to get to significant higher levels, it really depends on how much Bitcoin wants to catch up, honestly. This is the key question. If we don't see a meaningful catch-up, okay, we're going to be stopping around these regions over here of 92 and potentially 95 in anticipation of most likely 83 to 81. Potentially even 79 to 77, but I will be expecting the bottom to potentially come in between 83 to 81. And yes, potentially 79 and 77 to fulfill that CME gap. However, if we do see a bigger bounce, which of course we cannot ignore the possibility of, because of this unfulfilled Fibonacci from this all-time high to this low that we just printed, that is going to be taking us anywhere in between 100 to potentially 106K. Do we have other trend lines for this? I think that we do. This has been retested. This, you can see that it has been broken without a retest. So this is how we could potentially see that potential drive back up, okay? Just in case we go for the extra squeeze. Now, if we do end up seeing this, I will be anticipating these altcoins to potentially catch up. And if they do catch up, as I said before, this Fibonacci over here points at actually the minus 50 to minus 61%, which I'm actually going to highlight for you guys to kind of remember the levels that have the most confluence to the downside. In this case, it's going to be 74.5 to 71.740. I'm actually going to be refining that. 74.50, 500, sorry. And potentially even lower. 62 to 56. It's not that crazy of a retrace, because if you look at it from this bullish Fibonacci, right, where would that basically take price to? A bullish Fibonacci. We know that it's a very good likelihood at this moment, especially with all these confluences that have been arising down here, that anywhere in between 72 to even 56K can potentially come for Bitcoin. How much do we need to go down to? It's another question, and the question will actually come from these altcoins. That's why I'm saying the key here is to understand if these altcoins will see a catch up or not. Because even if we were to go up to these regions of 100K, but these altcoins don't really catch up, we know that most likely what you need 83 to 81K at most. Okay? Because that will be a significant drop for these altcoins to actually take. It's going to be quite a fatal blow on this all. Do you think that maybe we'll have a small consolidation? Maybe for 1 or 2 days. Like we get down and say they're all the summer, right? No. I don't think it's going to. I don't think it's going to be taking. It's going to be taking that long. March is usually a very important month for. If you guys remember, I know I ended up wondering if we may see something different in terms of expectations. But if you guys remember, there was a time where I told you that bottom, in my opinion, will be coming between March and April. And here we are. Now, I of course also said that there was a possibility that it was going to happen during the summer. But as I've refined and as time has progressed, I shifted significantly in favor of March and April. So here we are, right? Honest opinion, do you think that after we have the lows would be a good idea to continue building position until we break to the upside? Because I cannot put everything in one scoop. Absolutely yes. To me, I think I mentioned this before, but to me, as long as the lows are in, I don't care where you guys want to continue buying. It's completely fine. Like for example, let's say that we find the bottom at 8 cents, and then we start to see a reversal. As long as we can confirm these lows being in, it doesn't matter. Do you get another paycheck? Do you want to put more money? It doesn't matter if you buy 15, 20, 25 cents or 30 cents. It doesn't matter at that point, because we'll start to only be looking up from there. Okay. And of course, if I'm planning on selling $1.30 or $1.40, what it is, as long as it is still quite far away, it makes sense for you to buy it. Of course, you don't want to do that once we are at like 90 cents or 80 cents, because the returns don't even make it worthwhile anymore. But if the bottom is in and price is up even 300%, we are at 30 cents, but we are still far away from our targets, by all means, you can consider even buying at market prices. It doesn't even matter at that point, in my opinion. So yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for the best possible prices because there are some people that work with very limited budgets, and there is some people that are not even on a payroll. So you understand that I'm in a situation where even for myself, regardless if I was doing this publicly with you guys or not, I would have been looking for the best possible price that I could get on these entries, right? But the same goes for people that have a limited amount of money and they want to maximize their returns. Um, it really depends on what stage of the market we're in. And at this moment, we know that we still have a little bit more to go to the downside. And that's why I'll be focusing on getting the best possible entries. But once those are gone, if someone else joins us and the lows are in and they missed it, I'll tell them it's probably the smartest idea for you to buy now, if that still makes sense. But anyway, USDT dominance chart, right? So last fulfilled Fibonacci is actually this one over here. From there onwards, we actually hit the 161.8% today. That's also the equilibrium point of this range. So this area over here is likely going to face a little bit of resistance. But it's not going to be like a meaningful amount of resistance. In my opinion, it's going to be a short-term type of resistance here. And what I see here coming is potentially a return back into consolidation. Now, if you guys have monitored a price action for some time, you will know that usually what price does after leaving a level of consolidation. Let me see if I can find some example for you guys. I mean, this is an example. You can see that price here has left consolidation, broke back up, but then before leaving for higher prices, it actually went inside of the consolidation. I found that most of the time when this happens, it tends to go to the equilibrium point of the actual previous range. And if I were to put the middle line, what do you see? The price has actually just struck the equilibrium point, and from there onwards it went up. Now, why is this important? Why am I pointing this out? Because I've saw this sort of a situation quite some times here already, and what I can tell you here is that we have taken out this high over here. Some sort of a retracement should be coming, because just like if this was a tradable chart, right? What would you be expecting people to do in this sort of situation? Well, I can tell you that a lot of retail traders will be jumping long right here in expectation of breakout. Yes, there is a trend over here that we can also watch out for. But right now, I'm actually looking for a consolidation. Well, the consolidation to be this one. And for a return back into the equilibrium point like we have seen previously in that example that I just showed you. So equilibrium is going to be at this level over here of 4.53. I'll actually point that out for you guys so that when we do even the live stream tomorrow, if I'm gonna have one, we're gonna be coming back to this. But yeah, I think that makes sense if we do end up seeing this going back down. We said that the altcoins and crypto as a whole needs a catch up. This should do the job, and I think that this actually gives us a better framework, right, as to what is most likely going to be coming next. You can see that this is the Fibonacci that we are waiting for a retest of. Precisely this level that actually correlates very nicely with a 78.6%. And you can see that the full extension, right, will line up not only with the trend line, but also with previous Fibonacci levels. And we will pretty much be sitting at the bearish golden pocket from where we could potentially actually find the market to be bottoming. I'm still open to the idea of this needing to break out and take out this high. It can happen, especially if Bitcoin starts to trade below 60K briefly. We can easily get up into this region over here. It's just a matter of if we are actually going to do that. Do we need to do it? Maybe not. We can potentially stop into this region over here and roll back down for an Altseason from there. But I'm open to this also coming through as well. Okay, so regardless of that, the bearish golden pocket starts from 5.43%, and we are still kind of far away from it. But we have struck the equilibrium point of this range, so I'm expecting a little bit of resistance to come in. retrace back down lower, continuation higher. It's pretty much the same exact framework that I show you guys every single time. Level bottom, expansion, level 1 retrace, level 2 continuation, level 2 retrace, and so on, right? It's pretty much the same exact market structure. And this chart is no different. So things are looking very, very good to the upside. Not gonna be covering these charts, it's kind of pointless. I've already covered the previous updated charts. Let's look at Ethereum. I mean, look at that. Honestly, this is already telling you that we are going to be going lower. No matter how you put it, this trend over here is still missing the third touch. That could potentially be enough for Ethereum, because I'm looking for Ethereum to potentially get back between 1,570 to 1,300 at most. This is where I will be calling bottom for Ethereum. I think that it is enough. Can we stop a little bit earlier than that? Yes, it will have to be due to this trend over here. This can also be a very quick whiff fishing with a candle closure back above 1,800. It's not crazy. We have seen that before in the previous liquidation event. So this is telling us that it's going to require more downside. In the short term, pretty much the same situation as the other charts that we have seen. This is also missing potential and I'll drive back to the upside. But the upside in this sort of situation is quite limited. I don't even think that we're going to be hitting the bearish golden pocket anymore on Ethereum. I think that what's more reasonable at this moment is actually to look at Fibonacci such as this one, which will still be taking us down to where we need to go. So it will still be completely fine. The reason why I mentioned this is because, you know, you've broken quite a trend lines here. Okay, you could consider this the third touch of this trend line, and that will be true if tomorrow we end up, or either today or tomorrow, we end up seeing a candle closure back above this trend line, because that will basically imply that we have a little bit more of a roadmap to the upside once again. But it's going to be met with the same exact outcome as we have seen so far, which is downside. So, man, are things looking good? Are things looking good, guys? You know, it takes quite a bit for me to get this excited, but you know, you can tell by my voice that I'm actually getting quite excited here. So, again, another Bitcoin chart, broken trend lines. We know where this is going. Bitcoin dominance now. Bitcoin dominance. It's taking quite a rejection today. You know, that's why I said, you know, yes, we have seen some movement to the downside even today, but nothing too significant. You know, that trend line not been hit, and that's a big trend line that I want to see hit sooner rather than later. And we aren't there. You can see that today the Bitcoin dominance is actually down, right? So this is actually opening up the possibility here of what I said it's most likely going to happen, which is an altcoin catch-up. Now, the altcoin catch-up doesn't necessarily have to be a crazy one. It can be something like this, where I will be looking at this level over here for a potential bottom that wipes out this low before a continuation higher, or potentially even this lower trend line over here, which would also confirm the retest of this broken trend line to the upside. So either way, I think that we're going to be finding a bottom within these two trend lines over here, the trend line channel that I've highlighted in green. From there onwards, we are looking for expansion to the upside, up into this region over here. As time progresses, I will be expecting the percentages to go a little bit higher. Right now, we're looking at somewhere around, 66.8%. If this takes a few days to unfold, we are going to be getting very close to that C19 March top of dominance, which, you know, call that a coincidence, right? Because I mentioned Solana could potentially be the Luna of this cycle. And by that, I mean that it's potentially going to go to zero. I'll explain myself. Give me a second. But I told you when it happened that I believe that Solana has pretty much stopped. And from there, we went down 55%. I would say that was a pretty decent call. The reason why I think that this has stopped, right, and this can potentially go to zero, Is what is for this particular reason over here. It's not just this one, of course. But we are broken below a significant trend line. We know that this is missing on a drive back to the upside, but time is taken, and this is a downtrend trend line. Okay, so the highest I see this go now is 185 realistically. Not only that, we have pretty much the same Fibonacci situation as Bitcoin. We could potentially see a short-term bottom in this region over here that could provide the framework as how we could pull back up. Sure. But what's more interesting here, in my opinion, is this. And I couldn't believe I didn't notice this before. And what I'm talking about is actually this. These two levels over here, because they actually form a pretty significant range, to say the least. Premium discount. There you go. Would you say that this range has been respected? The reason why I think that this can potentially go to low, to very, very low prices, right, is because, well, the first breakdown was to the downside. Where would that be taking us? Below $8, I believe. Yeah, because the bottom was $8 on Solana. I think that something like this can easily happen, honestly. You know, it's in a situation where, just like Bitcoin, this went up significantly. And, you know, because it didn't face too much resistance as it was going up, right? I think that once you take out the $78 level, heck, maybe even 52 at most, easy downside to probably below $8. We broke quite the levels of support, honestly, based on what I see. How could this potentially play out? Well, there could be some restrictions on who gets to make a coin on Solana on chain. That's definitely a possibility, considering all these rug pulls that have happened on this chain, right? And if that wasn't enough, right, we have Kanye West, who has over 33 million followers on MEXC, that is now launching a coin. Now, what do you think, right, that is going to happen if this is another celebrity rug pulling his fans? Even the Argentinian president made a rug pull. Heck, even Trump made a rug pull, right? I think that, and I sent this in the premium chat some time ago. It was definitely some days ago, for sure. But I sent that the SEC is now going to be cracking down on these rug pulls and these people that are doing all this stuff. I think that Solana could potentially be taking a hit on something like that. I definitely will not rule that out. Now, does it have to happen right away? No. Reason being is because if I actually remove all of these trends over here, we only focus on what's important here. I'll be removing this, removing that, remove this. This is currently the parallel channel for Solana. Let me see if I can optimize this a little bit more. I don't think that is really needed, but let's see. Yeah, I mean, even from here, you can easily see how we started to step into a significant downtrend parallel channel. And all it needs to do is actually have significant closures below it. Yeah, potential retest can definitely be in the cards. Sure. But that's where it most likely end, in my opinion. I don't see this going higher. I really struggle to believe that this is going to go any higher. To me, this resembles a lot like Luna, if I were to be honest with you. I don't know how this could potentially play out. I really don't know. But I think that once the bottom comes in, best case scenario for Solana is that perhaps we wipe this low. Okay, we end up wiping this low. I'll invert the scale for this. What I'm looking for is a drive down to the bottom of this parallel channel. From there onwards, I'm looking for another drive back up. Why does a drive back up make sense? Well, unfulfilled Fibonacci from all-time high. So this potential range can take you anywhere between $196 to potentially $219. But you can see that we have broken this trend over here. Unless we manage to reclaim it, flip as a support, and then actually go higher from there, which I really believe it's unlikely because it's one of the first coins that has gone up. Like, look at how ridiculous the price action must look in order for this to continue any higher. And I'm not kidding. This is how it actually needs to play out, right? I think that Solana is done for, and at some point, right, we need to see these altcoins that have been strong, right, compared to the rest of the market until now, actually start to give up their gains and start to make some lower highs before we'll see, well, before the end of the cycle, and therefore before the end of Altseason. Because if this sort of things, right, start to unfold where we actually take out significant lows from these coins, it just means that profit taking has commenced, right? And it's potentially even ongoing, I would say. And that profit is going to be rotated into coins that haven't performed as much. That's why I really believe that Altseason is on the brink of happening, and this price action over here is here to tell us that. Okay, so despite the possibility of another drive back up, I think that this is going to come during the Altseason, where everything is going up. Solana is not going to be any different unless this rugs before. But even this Fibonacci over here, I mean, look at these targets. Of course, this is minus $3.50. I'm not calling this to go necessarily to zero, but let's see if we have some significant unfulfilled trend lines, and I really believe that there are. From the origin of Solana to this level over here. I mean, look at that. Isn't this the same framework that I use on pretty much every single other chart, right? I think that it is. So, look at how price has behaved above the previous all-time high as well. Wick fishing, closure below. Range behavior at its best. So if we end up taking out this low, that's big confirmation that Solana stopped. Move back up during Altseason, end of the cycle, this will easily start to rug significantly unless it does it before. That's where I stand with Solana.